3, 2, 1. Hello and welcome back to the Kewlcast podcast, episode 3 we're on. I am your host, Preston, aka Scotty Bird, joined by my co-host,
Travis, aka T-Man Kewl.
And today, my topic of choice is going to be creepypastas.
Oh, yes, sir. Yeah, that's a good one.
Yes, sir, yeah. I was revisiting some. Before we start with that, hey, anything interesting been going on with you recently? Anything in the last week?
Actually, I did see you at Walmart last Sunday. We ran into one another. And the reason I was there, I was with my father. He was getting me a hunting license.
Really?
So I have been going hunting with my father on Sundays here and there.
Dude, that's really cool.
Yeah.
I could never go hunting. I don't know. I don't like sitting still.
No, yeah, I was the same way. I got my dad into hunting as a kid, and then he took me, and I was like, bro, this shit boring.
Bro, this ain't like Cabela.
Yeah, I've got to ironically bring headphones and listen to a podcast while I'm out there.
The actual action is cool, but it's just like a lot of downtime.
Yeah.
A lot of downtime.
And it's not even like the hunting aspect for me. It's just being out there and just kind of watching the animals. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's also a good point. You just need to just sit around and take in the environment that you're just not used to.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah, that's cool to hear about. Yeah, you ran into me. I was blanked out. The second you walked up, I was like, "Oh my God, Travis, dude, what's up, man?" Your dad responded. He's like, "Are you gonna take it back?" I was like, "Oh yeah." Like I was just sitting like I have no fucking idea what to say.
And that awkward side hug too.
Nah, that ain't even awkward, bro. That was probably the most coherent thing I pulled off there.
Fair.
Yeah, let's see. Shit, what did I do? I was gonna fucking say something. I had something lined up that I did that I completely forgot about. Oh, right. There it goes.
What?
Oops. I'm just forgetting. I'm forgetting fucking everything. I did. I really forgot. I've been learning a lot of Blender. I guess that's something I can say I've been doing this week. I even showed Spencer. Let's see if I can't find it and post it. Uh-oh. Never mind, I guess to do that. But so I've been slowly learning Blender, and not in the sense of like, oh, I'm gonna make whole ass animations, this and that. No, it's mainly just so I can like get a model in front of me and just have it rotate for the most part. Have it be something like that.
Yeah. It's kind of cool. There's been a lot of times where I've wanted to like, I wish I had a 3D model of this, and I wish I could just toy with it, like look at it, examine, instead of just the PNG.
And that's mainly the whole reason I did it, was because I sat down at some point. Where did I save this video to? Because I remember I exported it right in front of Spencer, or maybe I didn't export it. I don't know, whatever. But I did some slight little moving, but I've been slowly learning Blender. Primarily, most of what I know is making sure that I can get it rendered in with its textures. I can reliably pull it from other sources, primarily Source Filmmaker and other Source games, since their MDL files are really easy to import into Blender. But those are mainly for ideas I have that are for personal use, because if I were to try and edit something like that, it's for a very ambitious, very long and drawn out project. So something like our gaming channel probably isn't gonna work too well while I'm getting used to it. Anyways. I also I've been haunted by podcast ads. So while I'm at work, I use my work phone, funny enough, to open up Spotify and listen to it there. So it doesn't drain my phone battery. But anytime, it'll go like, I don't know, 20 minutes, and you'll get a row of ads or whatever. The one ad I hear all the time, and it is the dumbest one the U.S. Air Force.
Oh, what?
Literally, it's just you stuck in the same cycle day in, day out. Wake up,
Oh,
eat, go to school, go to work, podcast, sleep, repeat. Join the U.S. Air Force now and change up your life. It's like, yeah, go in the military if your podcast is too boring. It's stupid. I don't get it. It's like my least favorite ad because like at least the other podcast is like, why did I, big name Mr. Snotnose McGee, start a podcast? Well, you see, it's because it's like talking about their podcast. This is literally just, do you listen to podcasts? Your boring life isn't enough. Come join the military. Come join the military. It's like, what?
Join us. Sell your soul. Please.
Pretty please. We got podcasts.
We will pay you, please.
So that's what I've been putting up with recently is learning Blender, and then just anytime I'm at work having to crank the volume down so I have to stop listening to the same cycle. Join you is different.
Yeah, man. YouTube being like 90% of my entertainment. Just having ads again lately has been I was blessed for a while. I'd forgotten how just insanely stupid they are.
Yeah, I had YouTube Premium for a while, like a year or two ago, something like that. Stopped using it because, again, I don't like paying $16 a month. That is stupid expensive.
Yeah.
But when that ran out, I was surprised to find that I found it very easy to just ignore a lot of the ads. Like, I'll just stop paying attention to them.
Yeah.
What? So
Just, as someone who sorry.
Nope. Go.
As soon as someone who okay, now it's my turn to forget.
As someone who's used to not having ads.
Yeah. No, as someone who uses YouTube to fall asleep quite a bit, being like jolted awake by an ad right as you are like drifting away is awful.
See,
some of those ads are so loud, dude.
They are. And that's why I was wanting to talk to you. That's why I had that talk to you about how we need to increase our volume through Premiere because again, like the ad jump scare, which I don't know if you know this, but on anything that is not computer or mobile, you can skip any and every single ad.
Can you?
Yes. Whenever the ad's playing, if you hit, like, say, on a PS4 controller, you'll bring up your timeline bar, hit up once, and it'll immediately hover over why this ad. Hit X on that, select it. It'll prop up the thing, and you can report the ad. Now, you don't actually have to report it. There's an option that just says return to video, and it just immediately skips it.
Huh.
Some ads, it does not let you do that. I don't know what determines what ads they are, but there are some where you just cannot do that for some reason.
Interesting.
That's how you skip an entire ad on consoles. Like Nintendo Switch. I found out it works on Nintendo Switch for some reason.
Well, that's handy.
Mm-hmm. So, creepypastas. I thought of this topic because I've got my own little personal Google Doc where I have to jot down things to discuss like outside of the podcast and what have you. And then sometimes if I have a topic I feel is not very niche, I'll throw it in there. Like I've got like 2 other things right now. It's nothing too crazy. But I thought creepypastas would be a good thing to talk about because recently I have kind of dabbled my feet back into Pokemon creepypastas. And the reason I did that was because I did it how I did it the first time is, funny as it is, Friday Night Funkin'. As silly as that sounds, you know, the little beep bop little fucking blue-haired kid where you hit the arrow with the rhythm game. The base game doesn't interest me at all, but the amount of like huge projects that ultimately get canceled that are created and based around creepypastas introduce like it's pretty creative. And it looping back around because my all-time favorite creepypasta that stands out to me because I think the one I find the most enjoyment at a constant rate would probably be something like, I guess SCP would count as a creepypasta, I guess, or maybe
Right.
an ARG, like an alternate reality. But as it stands, my favorite creepypasta is Snow on Mount Silver, which is a Pokemon. It's a Pokemon Silver creepypasta. I don't want to clear my throat so much, I'm sorry. But I had kind of forgotten about it a lot, but I recently rewatched a video going over the entire Hypno Lullaby version 2. Of course, the unfinished canceled build, because every big project that people put years into in that game just cancel for some reason. I don't know why. People are stupid. But, and in that has my A, favorite song, and B, like, for context, I am a masochist when it comes to the ending of a movie. And I love a bad ending. Not in the sense that, like, oh yeah, we're here to kill the bad guy. Oh no, the hero's dead. We're all dead. Like, nothing like that. But something that is, like, well, that, like, a psychological, like, something that is not seen as, like, oh, that's a bad ending, but, like, the worst ending that could have ever came out of any of this.
Right.
Like, my favorite example of one of my favorite endings to a movie. I think it was, like, one of the 2010s, Would You Rather. It's kind of, let me...
I feel like I've heard of this.
I'm sure I've rambled off about it at some point in time. Let's see. Yeah, what is that, 2012, I think?
Yes. That's what I'm seeing.
Yeah, the one by Brittany Snow, Jeffrey Combs. Others are actors. Yeah, IFC Midnight's Would You Rather. So, spoiler alert for the movie. The entire premise is a lady is... I understand I'm completely sidetracking myself from creepypasta, but it's just a lineup as to why I like my creepypastas the way I do.
Right.
But premise of the movie, a lady is taking care of her brother, I think it is her brother, but she's taking care of him, of a family member. He has cancer. He's got, like, really bad cancer. Like, I think it's, like, stage 3 or stage 4 terminal. Like, it's bad, and she keeps having treatments for him, of course, draining her bank account. It's a lot. It's a lot to just kind of have to take care of that stuff when you can't afford the downright, because the only cure for it is to get the, like, bone marrow from some multi-million-dollar thing that she just can't afford. But she gets an opportunity. A man approaches her and says, hey, we have this thing we do. We come out here, we play some games. The winner gets a wish. Pick one thing that you want in the world, and it's yours. And of course, she's skeptical, all this and that. Eventually, she goes to this thing, and it turns out this is a game of Would You Rather, and it's very dark and grim.
Right.
The winner is the last surviving member. And all throughout it, people are playing, would you rather do this or this? And then, of course, a bunch of conflict break out. People start going at each other's necks, this and that. She teams up with this one guy who they stick together. At the very end of it, they're the last two alive. They're both, like, broken, scarred, disfigured. They're missing, like, I think he's missing his hand. She's missing a couple fingers. Some bunch of stuff like that. Like you have to, like, make sacrifices. And, of course, they've built, like, a relationship. Turns out they're the last two alive. They are given the choice. Walk away with this newfound relationship and just that, or one of the two of them win and claim their sought-after prize they signed the waiver for at the start. Now, of course, it lines up like, we could get out of here. We could ignore this. We can bang. She shoots the guy.
Oh.
Of course, she's really sad about it, but she did this whole thing to save her brother. Ultimately, she was going to lose someone. So she made her choice. Her family member. She receives her item that she picked, and as she gets home to break the news to her brother, she finds a note on his bed. She finds his suicide note.
Dude.
He was so torn up over her putting everything on the line for him to keep him alive, her money, her wealth, whatever. He was so guilty. He was like, live this world carefully. She went through everything for it to mean nothing. I love that
Damn.
ending so much. That is my favorite movie ending by far. And it's like, and of course, like I said, there's a difference between a bad ending and the worst ending.
Yeah.
That is the worst ending imaginable ever.
Yeah.
But so, I don't know why my throat is so coughed up. What the fuck, bro?
Need that Pedialyte, bro.
Bro, I wish. But so the creepypasta of Snow on Mount Silver is along that line where someone is making a treacherous journey just to get to the top and realize, oh my god, it's over.
Yeah.
The character has that realization. I will speed through it really quickly because it's as most creepypastas are, it's filled with fluff. I only remember the actual like in-game lore because there's a bunch of lore like me and my brother play Pokemon. He hacked his game. His game made him did this. Like the entire first 3/4 of the entire story is how he talks about how his brother fucked his game up and he drove him crazy. The last quarter is the most interesting part where he actually plays through the cursed game or whatever. Oh, well, it's called Easter Egg Snow on Mount Silver. Oops, my apologies. It's gonna be a lot of audio adjusting on my behalf. I don't know why I got so much fun, but so a lot of stuff happens. This kid and his brother, they both play Pokemon religiously. Since they were growing up, they were like 1-to-1 with each other, always playing it. His brother gets interested in Game Shark, which, for those of you who are too young to know what a Game Shark is, which unfortunately there are people young enough in the world to not know what those are, that was essentially a portable ROM hack for like Game Boy cartridges and DSi games. And so those just that you could hack your game. It was literally just a preset like a USB stick. How you'd stick that into your like computer or console and you download your hacks and mods. But so that's what Game Shark was. It was like an official thing that you can't do anymore because especially with Nintendo, they will immediately strike your stuff down for tampering with their hardware. Back in the day, it was pretty common. But his brother hacks his game or whatever. He goes to a friend's house. He comes back to find his brother is just like belligerent crazy. He's just like scarred with whatever he sees, this and that. He's like, bro, are you okay? He's like, yeah, I there's so much snow. It was white everywhere, just like this and that. Which, thinking back on it, this is about, Pokemon Silver. There's like 16 pixels, but ignoring that. His brother gets taken to a psych ward because he is legitimately, like, mentally, like, just crazy over what he witnessed. His brother, of course, has to see what happened. So he throws the cartridge in, and he boots it up. And it starts up normally, but he has a character who has a Pokédex, this and that. I'm skimming through it. And it's silver at the base of Mount Silver, or whatever, in the game, which is a snowy mountain. If anytime you try to like turn back around and go to the mountain, you'll get you get dialogue saying, "I can't turn back now. I can't run away. I can never go back." Like if you keep repeatedly trying, you'll cycle through dialogue, which of course it seems cheesy now, but thinking back in the day on a Game Boy Advanced. Seeing your game you've put hours into suddenly do something like that is absolutely unnerving.
Yeah.
But of course, this is a creepypasta, as they are. He goes through, and as he's walking through, he goes through his Pokédex, sees his team, and he notices that their color palette are all kind of grayed out. They're slightly like a gray-blue hue, a frost-bitten color palette, if you will, because they're on this snowy mountain. He keeps pushing forward. Your character walking speed eventually keeps getting slower and slower and slower and slower. Text pops up on the screen. Meganium has died. Which Pokemon faint. Not once does a Pokemon ever die. So for text, like your Pokemon has died, because that's what a Pokemon's called, Meganium. That's an immediate like, Huh?
Yeah.
What? So he checks his inventory, and instead of it being like, oh, a fainted Pokemon, where that Pokemon was, a big red X is now slapped over their sprite. And this is where he sees that all of his other Pokemon is sporting varying degrees of damage, despite not having battle anything. Which the icons don't ever show that. That's just like, oh, here's your Pokemon, here's his health. Their portrait is displaying damage on them. Anyway, he tries to use a revive on Meganium, because you do that to revive your fainted Pokemon, and he gets the text, "It's too late."
Oh.
And he's like, what? What kind of an Easter egg is this? Whatever. He can't turn back. He gets the same dialogue. I can't go back now, whatever. And he keeps pushing forward. Text box pops up. His character stops moving. Pidgeot has died. Sure enough. He checks again, and where Pidgeot's portrait was is a little red X. This time, he decides to look at the Pokemon itself, trying to figure out what was wrong. When he clicked on it to go into the details, the sprite was mangled. Like, pieces of Pidgeot were missing, and what was left were splotched with sickest blue-gray colors. It had a missing eye where a solid black pit now sat. He flips over to the dead Meganium, same deal. A leg is missing. A chunk of its neck has been bitten out. Most of its head is withered and decayed away, save for that pitch-black dead eye. Again, this is a Pokemon game.
Yeah.
You don't see this. Your Pokemon don't die. They faint, and they're like, oh, I'm hurt, bruises. And again, a little snapback to reality of how goofy this is this is Pokemon Silver. This is like, colors have just barely been introduced into the Pokemon franchise. So it's low pixels, so it's not the most excruciating amount of detail. But again, if this were real life, that is horrifying to see. To look at your Pokemon and just see them completely just... But he keeps going. He has to see what this stupid little game Easter egg is doing. And he keeps pushing forward. One by one, each and every one of his Pokemon would start to die off. Examination of its sprite would show the same condition as the others. Beaten, mangled, disfigured. All until Typhlosion was his only one left, which was significantly weakened due to being frostbit, because Typhlosion is a fire-type Pokemon. But, because you could say, oh, he's fire-type, so he'll just melt all the snow away, but he's frostbitten, so the only amount of fire he can spit out is enough to keep him and his trainer from succumbing to the cold. He goes up the final set of staircase, and he hits the summit. Now, traditionally in the game, you go up Mount Silver, and this is where you battle Red, because the previous generation, Red, Blue, and I guess Yellow, you could call it, you play as the main character, Red. He is the champion. He's the one who goes through, defeats the Elite Four, yada, yada, yada. Next generation over, your main character he plays is Silver. You follow behind his footsteps, beat the Elite Four, and now you're to challenge Red. You're to best him, see who's the better of the two champions, to see who's the new one or whatever. So you hit the summit, and you immediately go up and you fight Red, as per normal. You hear his really cool theme song about. Here, after traveling up the mountain, which is what you really don't do, and doing all that, he finally hits the summit. Red is nowhere to be seen. Snow has stopped falling. At the very center of the map is a Pokeball sitting out. He goes up, and he goes to pick it up. When he walks over and examines it, there's a burst of static that instantly shot from his game, and it seemed like he got sucked into a battle animation. His trainer sprite appeared, his skin tinged with blue, against another mangled Pokemon sprite, and it was Celebi. In the center of that black hole that was its eye, a single red dot burned out like an ember. The thing looked rotted. I didn't even throw out my mostly dead Typhlosion before it moved. Celebi used Perish Song. Now, Perish Song, if I remember, let me look this up, because I'm pretty sure I know what it is, but I'd rather not immediately do this. But Celebi, I believe, is the only Pokemon in the game, as per the older generations, that is able to use Perish Song. All Pokemon on the field, when Perish Song is used, gain a Perish count. Pokemon that already have a Perish count, starting at 4 on the turn the song is used, the Perish count decreases by 1 at the end of each turn. When a Pokemon's Perish count hits 0, it instantly faints, just no matter what. So, no Pokemon on the field, Celebi used Perish Song on his trainer. As soon as it said the text, Celebi used Perish Song, a screech came out of my Game Boy Advance, and I almost dropped it as the screen went white. Part of me was relieved, thinking that my final Pokemon had been KO'd and I'd be transported to a Pokemon Center, but I was wrong. My sprite appeared in what looked like a cave. Was I now inside the mountain? I checked my trainer card and felt sick. Since no Pokemon was out aside from Celebi, that Perish Song hit his trainer. Which, of course, that's not able to happen in the actual game, but immerse yourself. He viewed his trainer sprite. His Silver was missing a leg. A single eye remained, pitch black and so sad-looking. Tears welled up in the corner, and every color of him was placed by those 6 shades of frosty blue and gray. Every stat on his card was reduced to 0, except for the time, which still read 99999. He quickly moved back to the map. His sprite there mimicked the horror it had. When he finally closed everything and tried to walk, he received its first message. His trainer spoke out in the text box. It's so cold. There's only one direction to go to leave this cave on the mountain. With each step he takes, another text box. Mother. Another one. It feels so cold. And another. I can't go on. The walls, as I walked, became darker and darker until they were pitch black at the end. There's an exit there, marked only by a white outline. I had no other choice but to go through it. It opened into a chamber that was solid white. The only way to distinguish the walls was a thin gray line that marked them as separate from the floor. Against the far wall was another sprite. Red. He was completely intact. Well, he came this far. He was so beaten up, and despite seeing Red in his perfect health, he came this far. He has to finish this fight. He interacts with Red. He gets dots as a response from the champion. The battle starts. Red's sprite had none of the deformities that merit his own. His colors were the same. The colors were the same blues and grays, but Red was intact. He just looked sad. His first Pokemon came out, a Venusaur. It was just like every other one. It was level 0 with a speck of health. He sent out his Typhlosion, who had 6 HP left. No Pokemon made a sound when they were brought into battle. Venusaur used Struggle. There was no animation, but a single point of damage done to Typhlosion, and then the Venusaur dropped off the screen with the text Venusaur has died. There's no text asking to switch out. Instead, dialogue from Red. ... His next Pokemon came out, Blastoise, even more mangled than the Venusaur had been. It too struggled, did a point of damage to Typhlosion, and died. Each round there was that ominous dots from Red. Every sprite was more damaged than the last. His Espeon was barely distinguishable as a Pokemon. This is when you would realize that all of his Pokemon were completely out of order, because Red's beloved #1 Pokemon was Pikachu. Because canonically, from the show and the game, Red is Ash. They're the equivalent of each other, and of course Ash picks Pikachu, and Red, lore, Pikachu is his #1 Pokemon.
Right.
I think he's even got like a special level, or I don't know. The fight continues on, and this is when he realizes that they're all out of order, which saved one Pokemon for last. Pikachu came out, and it was grotesque. It too was discolored, frostbitten. It was missing an ear, half its body, tail, and its head was mostly intact, but its eyes were much larger than it should have been, and it glared out as if pitch black windows into hell. The most prominent feature was now a giant smile extended from each edge of its head. Its health was at 0, or at least it looked that way. He didn't get a chance to attack, or my hands were shaking. I didn't get a chance to attack. Pikachu used Pain Split. Pikachu has died. Typhlosion has died. So what Pain Split does is Pain Split is a heavy attack that damages both the Pokemon that used it and the Pokemon it's targeting, so it took out both of them, for context. Pikachu has died. Typhlosion has died. It cut back to the image of Red's sprite, which now mirrored his own. His body so butchered it looked like a carcass stripped most of its meat, except it has those same soulless, deranged eyes as his Pikachu. I finally understood what happened. They were dead. They had been dead this entire time, and this sub-level of the mountain was a hell that they only now existed in. Red finally spoke. It's over. The screen flashed black and white for a moment, and the text popped up, "Used Destiny Bond." A horrible, hideous screech issued from my Game Boy Advance. The screen went white as it shrieked at me. Then it went black, and then there was silence. And that's the end of it. The rest is more flavor text talking about how he lived his life after that experience. But what Destiny Bond does is it's like a soul bound. When one Pokemon uses Destiny Bond with another Pokemon, if something happens to one of those two Pokemon, it mirrors its effect to the other one. So Silver, who is barely alive, Red, who is already dead, used Destiny Bond. Like, he realizes, oh my god, Red has been dead this entire fucking time. I just did all of this just to find out my one goal is just... It never existed to begin with. Red uses Destiny Bond. Now Silver and Red are both trapped on that mountain, forever bound to freeze and be forgotten. I love that creepypasta so much. Again, it follows with that horrible ending of like, oh my god, it's so Jover.
It's so Jover. It's so Jover.
Yeah, I did not mean for that to take nearly as long to explain, but again, as my absolute favorite, I had to completely splurge and just go into insane detail.
It deserves the spot.
Do you have any creepypastas of yours that you particularly like? Any niche ones that you know of?
One thing I did want to mention, I don't think it falls into creepypasta territory, but it is the precursor, let's be honest. Last night, we were talking about some content-related things, and you made a recommendation of a short story for me, The Jaunt by Stephen King. I read that this morning.
Ooh.
And I just gotta say, that was pretty good.
It's eternity.
You were right. Yeah, it's eternity in there.
It's longer than you think. I love it.
It's longer than you think. But yeah, I'm usually not a fan of Stephen King because his descriptions are just hard to picture. But that's nitpicky just for me. But that captured horror, like true existential horror, in a way that I have not seen from a short story. So that was...
I hate that it's a short story, but at the same time, if it were to be any longer, it would definitely drag out what it absolutely nails, because The Jaunt is, I guess, an ARG, an alternate reality game. It's an AU, it's an alternative universe to our own.
Right.
We were talking about stuff, and I completely went on this ramble because I recommended it to Travis because I saw some random Steam review quoting The Jaunt, and it was like, "I've been to the other side. It's longer than you think." Like, Travis got to hear me recoil in my chair, like, "Oh my fucking god, The Jaunt! I love that story."
And hearing that reaction, how can you not go and read it? Especially as a fan of horror and existential horror.
Yes, because I will admit, like, I've become a little, I wouldn't say desensitized to horror, but generic horror doesn't hit as hard as it used to. Like, my favorite horrors are psychological horrors. Like, things that are, like, so close, but, like, will get you. It's like... So I had a feeling you'd have liked that, The Jaunt.
Yeah. And like the fact that such an such a minuscule concept, like it's just nothing in there. It's just eternity, but it's one of the scariest fates I've ever seen in fiction. Just being in this field of white with nothing but your thoughts for an eternity. That is like one of the scariest things you can imagine as a human.
Because not only that, because it's not even just like, oh, people, it's not like being shipwrecked for months, but it's literal eternity. You've spent eons of time sitting there, and it drives these people insane. Like, the reason why I did not spoil the ending of the story was because the kid, it literally turned their kid into a fucking monster.
Yeah.
So I even made sure when I was, because I explained to Travis, I gave him like a short little introduction to it. I've made sure to specify that humans could not survive unless they were unconscious. Humans would die if they were unconscious. They don't die. They don't not survive. They live, but they're not human anymore.
Yeah, not anymore.
I made sure to dance around that shit real quick. Oh, it's such a good story.
Yeah.
You don't get that kind of stuff anymore, man.
For real. And I know that's technically not a creepypasta, but, you know, I figured I had to mention it, just how recent that was.
Right, which that does fall along the same lines that a creepypasta does. Because if I remember, a creepypasta would be like a what if. Like,
Yeah.
one of the most prominent and early ones was Sonic.exe. That's how I think most people were introduced to the topic of creepypasta was, again, Sonic.exe, which was a what if Sonic was a god. A literal god who took control of his universe and slaughtered everyone who dared touch it. At least I think that's what it was, from what I vaguely remember. It was super bare bones. It's cheesy nowadays, but even if we were to replay it right now, like it's been so long that I'm sure that would probably startle the shit out of me if we were to replay it now. But so that does fall against the same lines because creepypasta would be a what if of a game, I'm pretty sure. What is the definition of creepypasta, actually?
It has...
Oh, no, it's not video game. Video games are just very popular with it. Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. Okay.
Really? My definition of creepypasta has just been, like, internet horror story. Because if you go to any, like, place to find creepypastas nowadays, you can find, like... It's basically just internet horror stories. There's no real...
Right. Urban legends, if you will.
Yeah.
Which, because back in the day, they were really interesting back then. It's kind of like how the SCP Foundation turned out. SCP Foundation, like, there's a lot more fodder nowadays to sift through. The OGs are the OGs. You could recognize everyone, like Slenderman, Ben Drowned, Jeff, Sonic.
Yep.
All those people. There's a bunch of new stuff nowadays that, sure, you could probably find some value in, but there's a lot of cannon fodder. But,
oh, yeah.
Yeah, a creepypasta is a horror-related legend which has been shared around the internet. Yeah, you're spot on right there. Interesting. I just thought creepypasta because most creepypastas that were popular back in the day, the more popular ones, at least what I knew, were based around video games, which does touch into ARG, is something you are so familiar with is now horribly disfigured. You still recognize it, but like an uncanny valley cranked up type beat. So it definitely ties in with an alternate reality.
There is an unfortunate pattern with a lot of the video game ones, and this goes into what you were saying. The market is so crowded nowadays. It's like there's so much fodder. But one thing I've noticed with the video game ones is a lot of them are just the same story. And that goes with Lost TV show episode ones as too. Like Squidward's Unalive.
Oh my god, yeah.
Unalive.
I forgot about that one. That one was probably the one, side note, that was probably the one that scared me the most.
Yeah, that one did hit. And the fact that, I know modern SpongeBob being modern SpongeBob, but the fact that they actually referenced it within the last year or so,
they changed
that's
it.
funny to me.
You can't.
Yeah, I know they changed it.
That was
but like,
which adds to it, honestly.
Yeah,
it's like wait, no. Creepy Squidward was there. What happened?
Creepy Squidward. No, but yeah, the unfortunate thing is a lot of them are just like kid discovers lost video game version or lost TV episode, and spooky character from the show or video game comes out and kills him.
Right. Literally here's a step into my fucked up mind of what Family Guy would be like. I know it's pretty evil. It's literally what it's kind of turned into.
Yeah.
But that's why the OGs are still the OGs, because they still have their charm to them, even if hundreds of things copy what they used to be. It's why I believe FNAF was such a huge hit when it did, because in terms of creepypasta, FNAF was pretty late to the game. FNAF was
Yeah.
2014, and the latter half of 2014 at that, I think. Actually, no, that's wrong. Never mind. But FNAF was pretty late to it, but it did so many things right that fell in line with, like, literally, like, what if the animatronics at Chuck E. Cheese were out to get you?
Yeah.
Which, I'll pause myself here on FNAF because I could go on for so long about that stupid fucking game.
Yeah, guys, he's a bit of an expert.
Unfortunately, nothing Steelwool has done. All right, and I'm not saying, but
no, just to linger on the base concept of Five Nights at Freddy's, like how cryptic, not cryptic, but just how much is left to your imagination in that first
ambiguity.
I
think the word is. It's vague enough, like it paints you that good picture that like, yo, like it tells you are in danger. It shows what's after you. It shows that you are very much there, but it doesn't tell you why. It doesn't tell you how. Why did you join this job? Why did you keep coming back? Why are these things after you? Why did this? Why that? It's like it leaves so much up, which is why it hit so fucking hard. And again, it was a point-click game.
Yeah.
This is the mid 2010s. We are well past point-and-click flash games, and yet here we are, one of the most prominent series to date. That's admittedly slowly starting to die off, which, you know, again, we are we are entering that full decade of FNAF.
But that is rough to think about.
Mm-hmm. There's so many theories.
Yeah. Let me tell you, bud, you got a lot of time in that office to think, and it is longer than you think. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Which admittedly, a lot of the scare that came from, like most creepypastas, the scare that comes from it is the creepypasta itself. It is the Slenderman is after me. It's Jeff the Killer is in the woods after me. It's that kind of stuff. It's Sonic EXE is toying with me. You're not sitting there thinking Five Nights at Freddy's is coming to kill me. So the creepypasta wasn't the biggest aspect of it, but in and of itself, it is a creepypasta that hit the ball out of the park. It was primarily the dread of sitting there completely still, knowing that if you sit there a second too long, it's too late type shit.
It's over.
It's so joke.
Yeah. And just the fact that, like, with each game, especially, like, you have less and less to defend yourself. You are just helpless. Yeah. There's nothing you can do, really.
Yeah. Which I am a firm believer. FNAF 4 is the scariest.
Oh yeah.
Of them.
100%.
Not even for the animatronic designs or whatever, but like FNAF 1 is widely considered the spookiest because again, you sit there just listening to that buzz in your ears as you're sitting there like, do I check the cameras now? Do I this and that? But FNAF 4 it forces you to do more than sit still. It forces you to sit still and listen.
Yeah, dude.
It is the only game I have not beaten of FNAF because it genuinely, like, my heart starts to hurt. The amount of panic I get sitting there listening for someone to breathe in my fucking ear.
Oh,
dude. Oh. Man, that was a fucking rough one.
Yeah. That's one I won't play to this day. Like, no.
And that says a lot because we both have played the virtual reality where we are literally immersing ourselves into a horror game of jump scares to still say this one we can sit feet away from our computer still fucking gets to us.
Yeah.
Oh.
It's bad. It's rough. That was good horror right there.
Yep. It's something, but to drag away from FNAF because again, I don't mean to keep yanking us away from a topic, but this is one topic I know I'm going to regret if we stay on it too long.
No, that's valid. I gotta say, my favorite kind of type of creepypasta is what I like to call the short but sweet ones, like the really like just 1, 2, 3 sentences that are just like just in your face with some twist that just leaves so much to the mind.
Mm.
There's one, if I can remember it properly. It's girl, this little girl. She wakes up and she's like walking downstairs or something, and she hears her mom in the kitchen. And as she's walking past the closet, she gets pulled in to the closet by her mom, and her mom is saying, "That's not me out there. Don't make any noise." And it's such a good little twist because it's like, who's the real mom? Who's not? Like, what the fuck? What's going on?
This you just completely unlocked a memory. In Bellevue Middle School, the peak of my reading, like, or no, wait, I think it might have been Pine Forest. I don't remember. Pine Forest was the peak of my reading because that's where I discovered Ellen Hopkins. But I'm trying to remember. It was Bellevue. Okay, it was Bellevue because I had to retrace my steps and just imagine walking into the library where I had to picture the spot in the bookshelf I would constantly get the same book from, and then trace my steps back to get like, yeah, it was Bellevue Middle School. There was a book of urban horror stories, and they were all really short ones like that. They were maybe a page, like some were a page long, some were half a page long. Like they were some of the ones you talk like 2-sentence horror stories, like how there's that Reddit like there. Some of them were a bit more drawn out with a bunch more flavor text, which were very good. But I read that entire book like 5-6 different times. Like I genuinely enjoyed rereading a lot of those stories because, like you said, they were so good.
Yeah.
They were not they're not convoluted. They weren't unnecessary. They were like to the point of what they were trying to get to. And it was a big book too. It was a really big book. I want to see if I can't find it. I doubt I'll be able to find it. There's so many books about this. Oh my god, I found it. Too Good to Be True, Urban Legends. Wow. Holy shit. And let me... You can't save this as a picture. Why do you already do this? Screenshot. Alright. Yeah, you just completely unlock a memory that I was in love with those. That was my like I'd heard of like Sonic EXE and whatnot. Of course, I was interested in those, but there were like these were what ultimately got me because I'd read this book through and then I discovered the internet and Wattpad or Wattpad, however you pronounce it, WATTPAD. This is its very early stages of it. This was back when like you would really only find quality of niche people like dumping stories into them.
Right.
I would find like, I'm sure if I were to go on my old account, I'd still have a lot of these favorited, just like chapters on chapters on chapters of just urban legends, horror stories, short horror stories. And it's like one that sticks out is one of her friends, like 2 people in college, they're sharing a dorm room. One goes out to party. He's like, no, I gotta stay. I gotta study or whatever. The girl went to party. She comes back at like 4 a.m. They have a dog. That is another very key feature. They have a dog in there, which I'm probably mixing 2 of them together. But premise of it is, she steps into the room and she decides she's like, I'm not gonna turn the light on. She's dead asleep by now. I don't want to wake her up. She lays down in bed, and no, the dog wasn't part of it. I'm mixing. But she's like, I'm not going to turn the light on. I'm just going to lay back in bed. She lays back in bed. She wakes up in the morning to the police yanking her out of bed and ushering her out of the room. What she can see in the room was her roommate's mangled corpse with her blood spelled out on the wall saying, "Aren't you glad you didn't turn on the lights?"
Yeah.
Like it's really short. I love it. I love those so much. They're so good.
Ooh.
The dog one is something similar. Someone's having trouble sleeping at night. I don't remember what sets it up, but it's something like the second half of it is like they're trying to sleep. They commonly like leave their hand down to let their dog like lick at it, so that like they feel comfort. Like my dog's here with me. I'm good. I don't remember. It was such a big twist. because it can't be what I'm thinking it is, and they wake up one day to see their dog is dead with the dog's blood sprawled out. Your hand tastes good or something like that. Like it was some dude killed their dog. It was just licking her hand or something like that. Like, I'm sure there's more to it, but that was another one. Like, oh,
Ooh.
It's a good way to my heart. There's those short but sweet ones.
The dog one reminds me that I actually wrote my own one of those.
Ooh.
A long time ago. It was not good. It was just a stolen twist from 1,000 other ones, but I'll tell it just because it's on topic. It's this guy.
Okay.
He gets home from work and he's real tired. He goes to bed, lays down. He's drifting off to sleep, and he feels his dog jump up in the bed and lay down next to him, which is a normal occurrence for him.
Right.
And,
Dogs do.
he's just drifting further and further off. His eyes shoot open as he makes this horrible realization that he buried his dog yesterday. Yeah. Stolen twist. Not that clever, but...
Oh, it's still there.
Yeah, it's a piece of history because that actually unlocks a whole new chain of memories. Me and my friend group in middle school had this Google Doc on the Chromebooks. we had an entire just like creepypasta dump where we just had every creepypasta we could find just in a slide on that Google Doc so we could, tinker with it in class. I don't know. That was just a fun little time.
Not the side note. Remember when we made a Google Doc in high school that we would talk to each other with? Whatever happened to that fucking thing, dude?
Dude, I don't know, but the one offshoot, do you remember the story of the one offshoot that Spencer made that got deleted?
Vaguely. I know it happened. I don't remember what went on with that.
So, it was part of the... Because you know how we are. We had this stupid lore going on to the Google Doc. And at some point, Spencer made this image of, like, it's supposed to be my tombstone or whatever. And it was, like, Tony Stark's tombstone with my name poorly...
I remember that because Spencer hand drew that. Like he drew that with a mouse on like a trackpad or something like that.
Yeah. But the counselors or something found that Google Doc and they were like, hey, this is kind of insinuating the death of a student.
Oh my god.
So they deleted it. They just wiped the image off the Google Doc. And then months later, because we all still had access to it, another student had access to it and had turned it into their essay, the very same Google Doc. It was just some essay, dude.
Oh my god.
That was just a funny story to that one.
Jesus, yeah, I didn't know about that. Not to that extreme that a counselor found and just deleted it.
I don't think Spencer got in trouble. They were just like, hey, no. Get this off.
That does remind me. I got pulled into what are they named? They're like the mental health people or whatever. A guidance counselor, I guess.
Yeah, guidance counselor.
I got pulled in because they thought I was suicidal because we were in science. I don't remember what the topic was. Do you remember Zach by any chance? Little short kid or shorter.
Oh yeah, I remember him.
But we were thinking of something, and we were trying to think of like how much of like something along the lines of like how much is too much. And of course, our first thought is, well, how much cyanide does it take to kill a person? Of course, we search up how much cyanide does it take to kill someone. Later that day, like 2 hours later, I'm in PE and I get called over to the guidance counselor, and they're like, "So we saw a history, and we were just concerned for your well-being." I was like, oh my god, no. We're just stupid, and we were looking through an assignment. I'm not suicidal. But that was, I don't know, that just reminded me of that. That's the only time I've ever been pulled into a guidance counselor's office.
I also had a very similar story, but it was due to my very shallow sense of humor at the time. Where just saying, I'm gonna unalive myself to my friends was the funniest thing in the world, and it got overheard, and I got pulled aside for it.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
It's like, hey man, what was that? What was that, man?
What's going on there?
Did I just open my file explorer? I did. Yeah, oops. Oopsies. Yeah, let's see. What other creepypastas are really prominent out there? I like Mario creepypastas. I like the Mario creepypastas.
I like the Mario one.
There's a lot of good ones out there. Like, again, a lot of these get brought to light to me by FNF games, well, Friday Night Funkin', and it's just weird because, again, I don't primarily like the game itself. I hate the protagonist or whatever, the pop beep.
Yeah.
But it's just because I'm never sitting there like, these are all really old. Like, no one talks about these creepypastas anymore, so you'll never randomly scroll across. And I never go out and seek them out anymore. And I usually listen. I was like, oh, cool, like a huge collage, and I'll listen to the music and I'll like see the visuals of it because it's like incredibly visualized. It's like super creative, and that's another hit to it. It's very creative. That's what gets me to him. But like, again, my least favorite ones are just very basic ones. Again, like Sonic EXE, the premise of it nowadays is just, you dare enter my world, I am God. And then he like hacks your game and kills the person playing it. But there are a lot of gems that come out of that. Like there's one that comes to mind immediately, like with Mario and Luigi. Luigi is sick of being in the shadow of his brother. He conspires with Bowser. You know, Mario goes to the bridge to fight Bowser on it. He sees his brother. They fight it off. Mario knocks his brother into the lava. Luigi comes back out of the lava, like, horribly disfigured, like skin melting off. And all he says is, "Why won't you die?" And I think they go and fight again. I think it ultimately ends with Mario sending him back into the lava for a second time or something like that. But it's there's like the creepypasta. There's other ones that are simple but still really sad, like really depressing to think about, like Luigi's Mansion. The entire premise of the first game, at the very least, is King Boo captured Mario and entrapped him in a painting or something like that. Now, Luigi, the scared shitless brother, has to go in and face literal ghosts to free his brother out. And, you know, he does that with these. But there's the creepypastas of, like, initially it's like, but what if he didn't save Mario in time? And you can leave it at that. But what FNF does is it adds that creativity. So now you're playing, like, a song against a Luigi who is incredibly depressed, with his ghost sucker vacuum thing turned off in his hands as he's just sitting there singing a little solemn song as you realize, like, oh yeah, he's from Luigi's Mansion. Mario's dead. He didn't save his brother. His brother's dead.
Oh.
And it's like it's little things like that. It ensues like panic. There's one because in Mario 64 there's a model of Luigi who's hidden under the fountain. There's creepypasta space that Luigi's trapped under there. So of course, like drowning Luigi is a creepypasta. So FNF is like, you're singing up at top, and then it pans to whoever you're singing against, and it's Luigi trapped by a vine, reaching to the surface, struggling. It's like the artistic creativity that comes with that just fuels it so well. And again, it's just so weird that a game like Friday Night Funkin', Beep Bop Boop, hit the arrows to sing along with him, brings forth such creativity. And again, it sucks because all of these huge projects usually get fucking canceled. Completely different argument, but that's why I like them so much. Like, the community do so well with these projects because, again, they bring these creepypastas not only around, but something you're so familiar with is now given a visualization. It's given a really good one at that, a very attractive style, if you will, not like all that's hot looking, but like that is really, like, you can appreciate that. It gives a song to go along with it. They can throw in different audio effects, like they'll make the noise like, I'm your god now, and like the music ramps up, like, which isn't really part of the game, but like there's so much they could do with it. And then again, these popular things, they do so much justice. These either outdated or incredibly niche ones that can't help but get people to look at it. Like, if you go through a lot of these old Sonic, Mario, Pokemon creepypasta forums back in like creepypasta.net or whatever it's called, a lot of these comments are like, wow, this is great. I didn't know this existed until I watched Hypno's Lullaby V2 versus Friday Night Funkin'. That's so crazy. I was brought here by that. It's, oh, I'm rambling. Oopsies.
Is the point of a podcast not to ramble, my son?
I guess so.
Exactly. Embrace it.
Embrace my balls in your mouth.
No, please. Okay. I felt like I had another.
Yeah,
Oh, I think my favorite. This is not related to your ramble at all, unfortunately. But it's another one of those that barely classifies as a creepypasta. But I think one of my favorites is the Russian sleep experiment.
Yes, dude. Ew, dude, I fought tooth and nail like, no, that was real. No, that was real. No, that was real.
That was real.
Because I love the concept of it. Because that is a very fucking Soviet Union type thing to do. Like it is believable that the Soviets would do some shit like that.
Oh yeah.
That is another really big one.
And it's another one of those like psychological horror type things where you're exploring like what happens to the human mind without sleep for that long.
Right. Unethical experiments, which again, I still feel like that one is a very believable one because A, the Soviets, they're known for being ruthless, and B, in the era of the Soviets, pre-1980, 1990, something like that, it was, I think it was the 80s or the 70s where the Soviets had finally gotten kicked out by the Russian embassy. I don't know. But that was still in a very, the pre-fall of the Soviet Union was still in a very explorative medical field. Like, yeah, a lot of the things we know we do now, and but the history of medical practice and what we did to learn what we know is horrifying. Yeah, the shit we have done to people for the better half, for granted only like an eighth of what we've done to people have ever actually benefited, but for the better of the people, in most cases, is horrifying. So it does not surprise me that people would be like, what if we were to slowly, month by month, replace oxygen with gas that allows people to stay up without needing to sleep? And of course, it leads to the discovery of every living creature needs a shutdown period. Organs will fail, this and that and that. And this. Not to mention, I believe the final kicker is of the sleep experiment was one dude escaped, but the sudden change from being primarily on whatever this gas was to sudden oxygen, he suffocated because his body wouldn't accept oxygen as a source to breathe in. Because he was so incredibly used to it's so weird. It's so weird, but it's also it is, like you said, it's such a very close enough. It's so incredibly close to our reality, and it is very much something we would do because we have done so much worse than that.
It's so plausible.
Exactly. But do you know of the world's most radioactive man?
No. That
is a horror story in the face of humanity. That is our own created horror story. I don't remember what it was. This man worked at a place, something went wrong, and he got a blast of radiation onto him. He got hit with literally, he was given days before he was going to collapse dead from the amount of radiation he received. He's in the hospital. His nerves are failing. He can't move his arms. His bones are deteriorating. Hour by hour. This dude was supposed to die within a week or something like that. He was supposed to die very soon. He was laying in the hospital bed actively dying. This, I think this was Japan or something, some Asian country out there. But they wanted to see what would happen further. They kept this man alive for 2 weeks after he was supposed to die. I think there's pictures you can find, but he is literally just a mound of flesh. He is still alive. He can't communicate. His nerves are gone. His vocal cords are he's literally rotten from the inside out. The most radioactive man to exist. He was the amount of times he was begging to he wanted to die. He was doing no. It's literally that Metallica song. That Metallica song.
The one? Is
Yeah.
that it? No.
Yeah. Doom, doom,
Maybe.
doom, doom. Yeah, it's one.
Yeah.
But it is literally like I think Metallica was like the concept of it, like their show that sounded. But this is a literal instance of a man who his last words, I believe, were him begging them to kill him because he was in nothing but like his family weren't allowed to see him because again, this is like official like government business to monitor and see the effects of advanced and lethal amounts of radiation. They literally kept this man alive for 2 weeks after he was supposed to fucking die because they wanted to see what would happen, which granted I'm sure they learned a lot from it, and because like it's so fucked up because there is a reason, there is a right reason, there is a morally fucking like inhumane reason, like that is you are not a human to make that decision to keep a man alive who's actively deteriorating and rotting away before your eyes to keep him alive. But they learned so much because as far as I know, the only other time we've like had people encounter lethal amounts of radiation, it was like a slow, like a month or two later, like they were just gonna collapse. This was a man deteriorating before their eyes with how much radiation was pumped into him. Like they had to see what was going on. Like it's like that is the like this is completely sidetracked over creepypasta, and it's more like man-made horrors before our very eyes. But there is a line of being a part of the medical field of like you will cross it. Of this is so morally fucked up. I can't consider myself human after doing these acts. But we have to figure out what is gonna fucking happen. We have to know what this leads to, no matter what it's going to do to our subconscious and our psyche. Like it's fuck creepypastas. We got our own creepy soup right in front of us.
Yeah, I found some images of it, and obviously we can't show any of this, but that is rough. Oh.
Man, he's literally just a mound of flesh kept alive for the betterment of trying to find out what happens to a man.
Poor soul. I hope he is at peace.
It's all, and it's just like I'm not even gonna get into that rabbit hole, but just to keep it light, it's like that's what we know about. That is a story we've been told about. What the fuck don't we know about? And I'll keep it at that.
What did some certain individuals in the 1940s get up to? And we know a lot about what they got up to already. Yeah.
Is there anything you would like to wrap up on as we are nearing the end of this episode? It's already been an hour.
I feel like this is a topic that's really rich. I know we're not in the territory where we need to redelve topics, but I would like to see a sequel to this in the future.
No, absolutely. And again, like, it could even be a tie-in. Like this was primarily centered around creepypastas. The next sometime in the future we could go against like actual ARGs, things that aren't like what ifs, but more so like an in-depth story of how an alternate reality could differ from our own, man-made horror, just stuff like that. We could absolutely circle back around to this one way or another.
It's a good one.
All right. I've got nothing else to wrap up on. The first half hour, this was me rambling about my favorite, absolute like top tier stuffs. This is definitely this one zipped by. This is an hour. I don't remember.
Oh yeah, I'm surprised it's been an hour. To be honest with you.
Alrighty. This has been the Kewlcast podcast. Thank you all for tuning in and listening. I have been your host, Preston. You can find me at Scotty Burr, SCOTTYBURR on YouTube.com. Joining me today was my co-host,
Travis, aka T-Man Cool. You can find me at T-Man Kewl. I'll put the numbers in post. Yeah.
Mentions to these links and all of our alternate channels, including our gaming channel, can be found down in the description, as well as any of the music used in this podcast. Without further ado, we hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day, and we'll talk to you sometime later, hopefully.
Goodbye.